Hello and welcome to today's Partner Academy Live webcast. You're listening to the Time to Thrive webcast series presents Focus on What Matters in Your Pitch. And welcome to the final installment of our monthly series focusing on improving your sales. You can participate on Twitter at #TimeToThrive18. Our first presenter today is Jeff Hilton, who is the president of Knowledge Circles, LLC. And now, without any further delay, it is my pleasure to turn it over. Jeff, you now have the floor.
Well, thank you, Debbie. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. I am the president of Knowledge Circles and an organization called the Alliance for Channel Success. I've been involved with our industry for about 30 years as a partner and working with partners as well. I provide business coaching and partner success skills, as well as partner peer groups in helping partners accomplish their business goals. My contact information is on the bottom left. And with that, let's move on. Last month, we delivered a presentation on this series called Connecting the Dots. We focused on the importance of discovery and the challenges that all buyers face when they're imminently making a purchase. We discussed how important it is to understand your prospect's needs, how to understand their personality, and how to work with each personality type, and then finally how to address their long-term strategic requirements. The point of that was to obviously understand how to approach your buyer before you approach them. You can visit the Microsoft Sales Specialist website and view the recording of that session. Today's presentation dovetails from last month's in that it's focusing on the power of understanding the so what principle, specifically how to make your pitch relevant. So once you understand your customer, their needs, their personality, now it's about pitching them your solutions and how to make that relevant. When you talk about relevance, let's use this as an example. What is this? Everybody's going to say, well, different things. To a vice president of finance, they're going to look at this as an energy conservation opportunity. Replace that with a compact fluorescent bulb or an LED bulb. To a risk manager, they're going to view it as a critical safety device. An engineering manager just sees it as some object in the software which they use to monitor the environment. But to a salesperson, it's just a light bulb. And that's great. I love this example because the point is, you want to always put the object or the thing you're trying to sell into the context and the language and the relevance of your customer's needs. So making it relevant is about focusing your sales story in a way that makes it relevant and that matters to your prospect. You want to filter out all the extraneous information and clear out the uncertainty so that your prospect understands what you're trying to do, how you're trying to help them. And the result of that is that it allows you to sell and close many more opportunities and to sell bigger opportunities, more complete opportunities. To help us today, let me introduce my associate, Ken Thorsen from Acumen Management Group. Ken, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Jeff. Great points. And that's really the goal of the session today is to really understand how to be clear and precise to that prospect. I've been working with partners now for over 14 years and consulting with them on their business and sales leadership strategies. So the concepts that I'm going to be talking about, I use every day with my clients all over the world. At my website, acumenmanagement.com, you'll actually find some free videos. There's some free white papers you can download, as well as 3 books on sales leadership, how to hire people, how to compensate people, and how to lead a high-performance sales team. As you can see also, my blog, Your Sales Management Guru, every week it's updated with new concepts and ideas. If you have questions about some of the content we have, you can reach me, obviously, at ken@acumenmanagement.com. But the concept that we want to get across is really all about you. This webcast is an investment by Microsoft in you, their partner community, and that's why it's critical that you pay attention, you take notes, and you come back and listen to this webcast within 7 days. Now, let me ask you a question. Let's think about the idea of who you are and why we're important. Let me ask you a question. Can you think of a company that's 176 years old? They have 50% of the market in the U.S. In 2018, they expect to do $50 billion in sales. Who are they? Well, they've been able to enjoy that growth because they have changed their dealer network from selling hardware to selling solutions and being advisors. Anybody have a guess? Well, let's look at them. John Deere. They sell tractors. They sell plows. They sell lawnmowers. What they have done on an ambitious basis over the last few years is to win market share by building trust and confidence in their customers because they've trained their salespeople in their dealer environment, just like Microsoft is doing with this program, to work and not sell product, but sell something of value. So it's an important element as we think through this entire series.
So that's a great point, Ken. And so obviously John Deere has been able to focus their sales team differently. And so let's run through an example here and see how perhaps some of us might be positioning things today. Hi, Ken. This is Jeff of ABC Systems.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Ken. We're the oldest Microsoft partner here in Bug Tussle, Oklahoma.
So what?
Well, we also have been in business for 17 years.
So what?
Well, we develop solutions using the very latest versions of Microsoft technologies.
Yeah, so what? Call me when you have something I care about.
Okay. Well, you can see that was pretty ineffective. The conversation from the salesperson to the buyer was irrelevant. It was inappropriate. It obviously didn't resonate. A lot of bent nails, a lot of wasted time. Maybe it's appropriate to consider it's time for Plan B. So if you or your salespeople are approaching things with those statements and those kind of ideas, perhaps it's really time to change it to something different. It's really about making your pitch relevant. And one of the key and one of the first important principles we're going to teach you today is that don't articulate features without describing the benefits, and specifically personalized benefits. But let me drill down. The feature is the item like we've been in business for X amount of time. The benefit has got to be articulated in the context of something that matters to that buyer. Why do they care? Or that prospect. So there are different selling styles, and we're going to have you kind of think about what kind of salesperson are you. Ken, tell us about these different types of salespeople.
Well, Jeff, I think it's important for everybody who's listening to the webcast today now to really pay attention and say, am I a phase 1 salesperson, phase 2, or phase 3 salesperson? You really understand who you are and what you need to change to be successful. Let's look at a phase 1 salesperson. I like to suggest they're survival-oriented. They're focused inwardly about themselves. And they want to be told what to say. They're dependent on their manager. They really have to work at managing a business call. Now, that may be someone who's new to selling. It may be someone, actually, who's been in the market a long time but hasn't been properly trained. Well, a phase 2 salesperson is a success-oriented. They want to be successful. They're working hard. They understand the tactical steps of selling. Stage 1, Stage 2, Stage 3. And they may be pretty knowledgeable about SharePoint or CRM or whatever products they're working with. And they're good at managing the multiple call process. But they still haven't moved past that stage. This may be someone you love to hire. But in reality, in today's marketplace, especially in the cloud, you have to change. So phase 1 and phase 2 salespeople kind of ask these questions. Will I win the deal? I hate the word deal. I never use the word deal in opportunity. We have opportunities. How's it going to affect me? How can I make the profit margin I need to make more money? What if the customer doesn't like me? Those are questions that if you find yourself just thinking about in the morning or at night or during the day, relax and try to grow to be a phase 3 salesperson. They're different. They're a customer-focused service approach. They move the conversation from me to we. It's almost like selling someone from across the desk. Move your chair to sit alongside them and think about them. Think about who they sell. If you can get in your mind, how did my product and service help my prospects do a better job with their customers, you're going to change the game on how to move forward. They really move a relationship from a very ritual sales process to something that's more meaningful. That's why, for example, when you walk in, a lot of people say, hey, how are you today? And they never even listen to the answer. So think about your approach and how you work with people and move to what we like to suggest, the questions phase 3 salespeople ask. How can I better understand this person? Is this going to affect my other clients? Am I helping them get what they want? Is this the right thing for them? Is it priced right for them? What more can I do to help? See the difference from these phase 3 salespeople? And that's why making your pitch relevant is important to put it in terms of we. Put it in terms of how it's going to affect each other and how am I going to have an impact on their business. So phase 3 salespeople really are able to make the shift from an inward-focused game to an outward-focused game. Look at the picture, 2 people working together for the common opportunity and be able to help people from that perspective. So I think it's important that you consider who you are, but more importantly, how you approach a client and how do you approach a prospect and how and what kind of relationship do you have with them as you think about that relationship.
That's great.
Let's try it again.
Yeah, let's try this again. Let's take together the portions of making it relevant and being a phase 3 salesperson and connecting features with benefits. So hi, Ken. This is Jeff of ABC Systems.
Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Ken. We're the oldest Microsoft partner here in Bug Tussle, Oklahoma. As a result of that, we have a very strong relationship with Microsoft, and they're going to back us up when we create a solution for your needs.
That sounds good.
Yep, we think so. We also have been in business for 17 years. The importance of that is that we're very stable. We have hundreds of satisfied customers who can provide you with references to the quality of our work.
Excellent.
Yep. And also, we really try to develop solutions using the latest versions of Microsoft technologies. Now, this is important because it allows us to take advantage of the newest capabilities of their products, but it also provides you with a solution which won't be obsolete in the next year. It'll last a long time.
Wow. Jeff, when can we meet to discuss my specific needs?
That's great. How about next Tuesday?
9 o'clock.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Ken. We'll look forward to seeing you then. So you can see the difference. Taking features and pairing them to benefits resonates with the customer. And we're taking a different approach. We're focusing on their needs. We're focusing on what's important to them. And as we discussed in last month's webinar, we discussed how to understand what's important to them. Now, a lot of salespeople wonder about this and think, gosh, I just want to close a deal. And so we always talk about the difference between being a consultative salesperson versus a product salesperson. The importance is that if you look at these two charts, the product salesperson spends a little bit of time figuring out the customer's needs. They spend an amount of time crafting and offering a solution, and then they spend a lot of time trying to close the deal or the opportunity. A consultative salesperson who engages with the customer as a trusted advisor spends a lot more time analyzing their needs. They probably spend about the same amount of time offering a solution and far less time in the closing phase. The real point is that the total amount of time is exactly the same. It's just that you are approaching it with much more certainty, a much higher likelihood of closing the opportunity, and that's because you spent more time understanding the customer's needs. The essential relationship is that salespeople sell products and services, but clients are looking to buy relationships. And our job is to build trust and confidence with that prospect so they feel comfortable doing business with us. So you want to transform that so what, as you heard Ken say, into an advantage by adding value. And the way to add value is to understand your prospect's value proposition, understanding what's important to them, what will make a difference, and then translating that into your pitch. Without value added, anybody can do what you do. Value added makes all the difference. And if it's done right, no one will be able to compete with you. Ken, talk to us about the 3 steps to creating value added.
Well, I think this is a very important element. In our last month's session, we talked about doing discovery and trying to understand the specific business challenges that customers face and understanding their personality. And as you think about this in a sales process, one of the key elements we like to suggest is you need to understand your prospect's value proposition as you go through this process. So if you go to their website, try to understand who they are. And then as you start to think about your sales process, you say, now how can I build value on my opportunity that is important to that prospect? So tying in the discovery, tying in the customer's personality, tying in their value proposition will improve your odds, but you have to sell to those. So if their value proposition is adding high levels of value, customer support, that becomes an important element. So there's 3 steps really to create added value. It's what we like to say is, how can I add value to this opportunity? How can I be different? How can I be unique? But the real important element is that last line. You must prove that your value proposition during the sales process. So somewhere, based on what you're going to sell and who you are and what value you're going to bring, you have to prove it. You just can't say it. And we'll talk a little bit about that, but it's an important element for you to understand. First, step 1, forget the products and services. You are more than that. You sell dreams, you sell solutions. What do I mean by that? Well, many years ago, I was selling a software product, and during the discovery phase, I asked them why would they like to make a change and what they were doing. And the prospect told me, she said, I want to get out of the business earlier on Friday afternoon, and the way I'm doing a certain operation in my business, I don't get out until 5 or 6 o'clock on Friday night. And then I get in the car, we drive 2.5 hours north to a cabin on the lake in the woods, and I want to get there at noon. I want to have it be done by noon so that I can get there by 2 o'clock, unpack, maybe take the boat out, have a campfire, and enjoy that extra half a day. Well, when I heard that, I recognized I wasn't selling the software. I wasn't selling computers. I was really selling that dream of being at the lake at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with being on the lake water skiing or camping, whatever they were doing. It's important to listen, but understand you're selling the results. If they're looking for other solutions to make customer service at a higher level, you're selling the value of customer service. So all of that is an important element to consider. Step 2, what actions can I take that will add value to my offerings that will exceed my prospects' expectations? What can I do that will position me as different from and more valuable than my competitor? This is an important element for you to consider. What action can you take? How can I prove what that value is that I'm going to do? It could be as simple as picking up your prospect in a car and driving them to a similar company 10 miles away, 20 miles away, and showing them how your solution impacted another business that was similar to them. That's an action you could take. You might have an action that you could take is that the president of your company could pick up the call, not at the end of a sale, but at stage 2 of the sale, and talk about the philosophy of why he or she started the company and that we'd like to earn the business, and I could be different than that. So you're looking for things you could do to add bigger levels of value. You might, for an example, if you have customers in a remote area or long distance, bring them to your website on a sales call, or even over the phone, and have a video on your website that introduces your facility and has interviews with customers or interviews with some of your support people. So think about the value you can do or the action you can do that reinforces that value. Step 3, how can I bring this idea to my clients? Can I afford to do it? Does it duplicate any other service we provide? So you don't want to be redundant, or you really don't want to make it so that it's impossible to do. You want to make it easy, but you want to bring the idea to your client uniquely. It could be with an email. Recently, when working with a client, we actually FedExed some information over them, so it was a unique opportunity. They got something in the mail versus just an email they could delete. Some people will do registered mail sometimes to bring a particular idea to them. In some cases, we've had we've had customers pick up the phone and call a prospect. those are the kinds of things you can do that are inexpensive but still add value to your approach. All of that becomes critical in setting up and being different in the marketplace, but being creative and adding value to your sales process. Let's talk a little bit also about how to be strategically unique. This is an important element in adding value and making your pitch relevant, because in a competitive environment, you have to recognize that you have a competitor that may be trying to add value to, or maybe trying to do other things. So let me suggest a couple things here. Let's look at this graph. Traditionally, when you're representing your company, you're talking about the strengths of Microsoft, the strengths of your organization, the fact that you've been in Oklahoma for 17 years, but you're also the go-to partner for Microsoft because of the great customer service you provide, and that you're stable because of all those issues, and that means you're going to be around. But your competitor is also selling them. They could be selling size of their organization and the relevance that they have. They may be selling their expertise around SharePoint, whatever product you're representing. The smart people, however, are starting to say, we all have weaknesses. And so part of understanding strategically in a sales process to make your pitch relevant is that what would a competitor do? They may attempt to attack your weakness. Let's say you have 15 people in your company, and they have 125 people in their company. Well, they were going to sell their strengths, and they're going to point out that you only have 15 people in your company. So what do you do about that? Well, you change the game. You actually, in the early stages of your sales process, you start to sell your weaknesses as a strength. So what you want to do is change the game again and say, one of the reasons we've been very successful is we have 15 employees in our company. We're going to grow, we're continuing to add people, but we provide a very personable, close, and intimate relationship with the customers we have because you're very important to us. There are some companies in the market who have 125 employees. You're just another account number in their receivables area, and people don't know who you are. Your organization is going to matter to us, and we want to earn the right for your business. So it's important to think from a relative perspective how and what you present to a prospect to make them move forward. All that becomes critical as you build an organization. Jeff?
Yep. Thank you, Ken. It's great information. It's an interesting point you make in that by changing the game, you get to really articulate a different point of view to that prospective buyer. So it's important to look at, there are also different stages of buying. The first stage is need, and that's where the buyer is thinking about, do I have a need? What do I need? What are the issues? Can I fix a problem? How much money do I have to spend? And understanding the various stages of buying is important because you want to match your messaging to your prospect based on what phase they are. And you can ask them. Once they've decided they have a need and they're ready to move ahead, that's the proof stage. At this point, they're thinking about, is this the right solution? Will this solution work for me? What are the pluses and minuses? Who else has an alternative? Is that alternative maybe higher priced or lower priced? And is this the company I want to work with? And so, again, you would change the messaging then. You wouldn't try to do it all in one phase. And then finally, the risk phase, where the buyer is thinking about, what if this isn't the right choice? What's the impact to me? What if it doesn't work? Am I getting the best deal? What if I'm stuck? And you can see there's a bunch of what if type questions. So your job then is to help assure that prospective buyer that you're the right organization to provide the solution, you're the right person to do business with, your solution will address their needs, and you want to talk with them and understand all of those questions and worries and fears that they have. Top salespeople know exactly where each prospect is in the stage of buying. There's all kinds of ways of knowing this. Part of it is to ask them, are you ready to buy? What are you thinking about? There are other techniques as well. But you want to make sure that you're applying the correct selling action that align with the buyer's thinking, which allows you and they to move together smoothly. Ken, give us a couple of other ways in which you can know which phase the buyer is in.
Yeah, this is an important element to consider because in order to make your presentation relevant, you have to be in the right buying stage. When you create a sales process, you always create a sales process to align with your buyer's emotional process. So what Jeff was just covering was the emotional issues around how and what a buyer goes through. And you can see in this graph that early on in phase one, needs are very important. The buyer is thinking about their needs, what's their problem, what's their issue. So as a salesperson, our presentation, our messaging has to be focused on understanding their needs. That's why we went through the discovery. So making your presentation relevant is important at each stage of the sale based on the phase that the buyer's in. And cost is important, but it's not large, and you can see it rapidly declines. You'll see early on the prospect will say, well, generally, what's it going to cost? And you'll say, well, from a ballpark, it's going to be between $50,000 and $75,000. But we'll get to that as I better understand your needs. Proof is pretty low. So early on in that first sales call or the first emotional stage, if you're selling proof that you're the number one person, you have a high dominance in that vertical market, it's not the right relevant presentation. It will be, but not early on. Early on, as we said in the last session, you want to make sure that the prospect knows that you know what they know. And you can see risk is pretty low because nobody's put a lot of investment into time or money at this point. But as you move to phase two, you'll see that proof becomes very important. That's why in phase two, and this is not 3 stages of the sale, but in the emotional buying stage, that buyer needs to know that you can do the job. This is where references are important. That's why some of you would demonstrate CRM is important. You might show them a SharePoint solution, take them to a user, very important element. And by the way, in our research, we found that if you can get your prospect to come to your office in phase two of their emotional buying process, you will increase your close rate by up to 20%. So that's an important element. That's proof that you exist, proof that you use the tools, proof you have support organization. And risk starts to come up now because the buyer's starting to understand that they have to make a decision. And as they start to make a decision, that risk factor becomes huge at the end. It's even greater than price. So at the end of an opportunity, if you're still asking questions about your business, or if you're still worried about the risk and you're selling references or proof, your presentation is not relevant. You want to lower the risk by speaking about your methodology, understanding you have a methodology as how you move through the process. Proof drops to the very line, and price does start to come up. So making your presentation relevant is a key element of knowing what phase your buyer is in from an emotional perspective.
So what are the clients really buying? They really are buying the change in your relationship from vendor to partner. And using the techniques we've discussed above really are important in making that. If you want to be a trusted partner and you want to be a resource who they rely on and count on, then you have to change your positioning with them. So what the clients are looking for is trust and long-term relationships. Now, sometimes you ask the client what's important to them, and they say, well, price. That's what they're going to make their decision on. Even if that's the case, you have to figure out how to articulate why you are still the right solution. Because if it's purely just price, 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 they can always find somebody who's going to knock a few dollars off your lowest price. So even though they say price, it's worth knowing, well, what's next most important and what's third most important. Because it's really trust and it's long-term relationships. And again, as we said before, salespeople sell products and services, but clients are really looking to buy relationships. And this is critical. Now, let's recap a little bit here. To really connect the dots, the stuff we talked about last month in the discovery process really starts in the funnel where you understand your prospect's needs and you understand their goals and objectives, and along with the various phases, you also understand their worries, their concerns, and the items which they're really thinking about. You want to determine the prospect's personality and address it accordingly. There's quite a bit of information in last month's presentation about that, and it's very important because if you have the wrong approach for the wrong personality, you're not going to resonate with them, and you're not going to satisfy them, and they're not going to look at you as a trusted long-term partner. And then you want to address their long-term needs. You don't want to focus just on selling the solution for today. You want to focus on selling solutions which will work today and in the future, and which will address their longer-term requirements. And it's very important to use discovery, and specifically by that we mean asking a lot of questions, to really understand those needs. This happens all the time. Someone calls and says, look, I'm looking for a price on XYZ, and you are happy to throw out that price, but without understanding what they're really trying to accomplish, you're not really adding value. You are not necessarily saying, wait a minute, that's the wrong solution you're looking for. That's not the right answer. Or I can provide you with this, but I have a better alternative. And it's really becoming consultative, which makes the difference. Now, once you understand those issues, it's about making the pitch relevant. As we said, link features to benefits. Don't articulate features without making those benefits clear, and you want those benefits to be personalized to that particular buyer's needs and to that particular buyer's personality. And again, as we just discussed, you have to add value. So the value added is going to be based on your knowledge, your experience, your company's capabilities, your relationship with your vendors such as Microsoft, your ability to have Microsoft co-sell with you, or your ability to bring in perhaps a more technical person at the appropriate time or a more senior person in your organization or in Microsoft to help you assure the customer that it's not just you, but there's a whole organization and a set of relationships behind you backing up that solution and that offering for that particular customer. And then you, as Ken said, you want to turn your weaknesses into strengths. There's no point in ignoring your weaknesses. The customer is going to know them because your competitor is going to tell them. So you want to think about those. And what's interesting in all of these last three items is that you are taking the same standard set of information and things that you always talk with customers about, but you're modifying them to be appropriate to that particular customer. Now, the bottom line is that if you follow this approach, you're going to enjoy higher revenues and lower costs of sales, lower costs of delivery, and a better process, a shorter closing time, a more satisfied customer, a customer who's willing to pay higher prices, a customer who's willing to open up the door and let you sell more complete solutions. So we really think that's important, and we hope that has been helpful. Now, we feel it's very important that you take what we've discussed today and you do something with it. If you don't, it just becomes, oh yeah, I sat on a webinar for an hour and that was nice, but I really don't remember it. So we always ask people to make it a point to come back sometime in the next 2 weeks and review what we've talked about today and think about the information you gained. So I'd like each one of you right now to write down 3 dates and times where you will come back and review this over the next 2 weeks. If you're in a group sales meeting right now, assign those tasks and have the entire group review it, but you want to really make it a point to come back, think about this, and use it. And to help make it usable and to help make this actionable, we want you to list 2 active prospects where you can actually use this information and try to change your prospect's pitch, try to change your approach with that customer, and see if it doesn't work for you. So hopefully everybody's committed to that. We do find that to be very effective. Commit to a date, just make yourself a note, put it on your calendar, come back to it, and you will enjoy better success. Now, to help you drive this a little further, we have a document which will be available probably by the end of the day tomorrow on the MicrosoftSalesSpecialist.com website. Under Time to Thrive, look for the current resources for our presentation today, and under Tools and Resources, you'll find a downloadable document which will help you walk through making sure that you have a clear set of answers to some of these so what type questions and a clear articulation of the features and benefits for which your company is offering value. So we encourage you to download that. This webcast will be available as a replay, also probably end of day tomorrow, and we encourage you to use those tools. We do have one more opportunity for you. If you're going to Microsoft's Worldwide Partner Conference, which is in Houston, Texas this July, there's a few sessions which we encourage you to attend. On July 9th, I'll be teaching business metrics every owner and manager should know and use. My point of this is to take ways of measuring your relationships with your clients and other elements of your business and turning them into meaningful and actionable items which you can use to measure growth and success. On July 10th, Ken and I, along with 4 or 5 other associates, are doing an updated version of one we did last year called 50 Marketing Tips in 50 Minutes. It was a very, very popular session last year, and we encourage you to come to this updated version on July 10th. And then finally on July 10th, Ken will be teaching Dominating Your Market, Learn How Thought Leadership Marketing will impact your vertical market presence. So if you go to WPC, and we think you should go to WPC, we encourage you to come to our sessions. Finally, for additional partner leadership, operations, marketing, and sales support information, you can visit our website called alliance4channelsuccess.com, and also Ken's website, acumenmanagement.com, and knowledgecircles.com. And sorry, there's a typo. It's Acumen Management. It shouldn't have that T in there. I'll fix that in the download. Finally, we have an opportunity here for some questions and answers. I think a few questions might have come in already, and so we're ready to take them now. And if you do have questions, please type them into the dialog box, and we'll respond here online. Debbie, are there any questions which we've gotten?
Yes, we do have one. It says, how do I know what stage of emotion a buyer is in?
It's a great question. Ken, you would like to handle that?
Yeah, let me take that. It's very interesting. As you work with people and you start thinking about those three emotional stages, you will pay more attention to what stage you think they're in. But you can go, as you go through your discovery process, as you have your meetings with your prospects, you can ask them, the way I do it is, do you feel comfortable that we understand the business needs that you are facing? Do you feel comfortable that we've shown you that our company can provide you the SharePoint solution you need or the CRM solution you need? That's checking the proof stage. So you can check first if the need stage has been passed. Do you feel comfortable that we have proven the fact that we can do this information for you? So those are the kinds of questions you should take the temperature of your prospects and be able to go from there.
Okay, very good. I see another question came in, and I'm going to ask Ken to respond to this one. How do you deal with a buyer who's saying that price is the most important thing to them? How do you add value to that relationship?
When all they want is price?
All they want is price.
Well, the challenge on that would be if all they want is price, you have to make a decision of either offering them a very low level of value. Where partners get stuck is they believe they want to sell value, and they try to sell value in a price to a price-oriented customer, and they don't care. So what you have to do is have almost 3 offerings, if indeed you want to have a price-conscious customer in your customer base. You have ADC offering or gold, silver, or platinum offering. If indeed they have want to do business with you, but it's a price issue, they're not going to appreciate value. But so you have a package. Here's package A. You get 5 hours of training at our office. Package B, you get 5 hours of training at our office and 5 hours of training at your office. Package C is we come to your office, train your people, come back 30 days, train your people a second time, and then we check in once a quarter for 2 years where we'll spend 2 hours at your office training your people. So you have to, first of all, understand if you want the low price opportunity, and number 2, whether that's, and if you do, they're not going to appreciate the real value you bring, and you'll just be trying to sell them something you can't deliver. Nobody ever gets price, value, and quality in every opportunity. You only get 2 out of the 3.
Right. That's a great point. So, so when that buyer is asking for price and you're presenting different solutions, they can see the value you could add, and if they chose the lowest price solution, at least you're delivering something which is manageable and you can still make money at it.
And that's why, Jeff, I mentioned that it's important for the salespeople on the pre-call planning to check out the website, the prospect's website, and try to understand what they think the value proposition of that customer. One of the questions we covered last week in the discovery, or last month in the discovery session, was why do customers buy from you? That's a great question to ask. And if they come back and say, well, we're the low price offerer in our industry, well, then you know they're a price shopper. If they say we provide great value and really take care of our customers, well, then you understand what's important to them. So knowing the customer value proposition changes the way you sell to the prospects.
Very good. Okay, and I think we have some other questions. Debbie, can you tell us what's the next question in the queue?
Sure. So Fernando asks, he says, selling to the government is a different story. For counties, they are in office only for 3 years. They have resources, but sometimes don't have the interest to make changes as drastic as moving to the cloud. What approach would you suggest to use to approach this customer segment?
There's 2 issues that have to be involved in that element. It's a marketing issue as much as a sales issue. There has to be some education involved. And the customers who don't have a cloud strategy are not great prospects, but they do need education. So we do 2 things. We suggest you have what we call thought leadership marketing events, where people will present with industry experts why the cloud makes sense for county governments, and it may be an existing customer if you have one that is using your solution. Having them speak at a breakfast meeting is a very important element. So part of it's education, and point number 2 is what is the value to them to be more mobile and having cloud solutions in their facilities.
Very good.
Excellent. Well, here is the final question that we have in our queue. It says, how do we sell to a prospect from a distance? For example, say from Europe.
That's a great question. I had a client who specifically had that issue. They were in one part of Europe and wanted to sell to people in the United States, North America, and Western Europe. And they were finding it difficult until we discussed their value proposition. And it turned out that their value proposition was that they were priced similarly to resources in different parts of the world, such as India or the Philippines, but they spoke English, and they spoke English very well, and they also spoke all the European languages, plus they were part of the European Union, so it made travel and currency exchange very, very easy. So part of it is thinking about why would a customer want to do business with your organization from a different geography. They were also, as they went through it, they figured out that there was a lot of cultural similarities, and so they resonated very well stylistically with those prospective customers. And so it's really just a matter of thinking about, again, as Ken has said, and as we both said, understanding what's important to that client. And Ken alluded to something, which is to look at their web page. And I think that's fabulous, and that's a great selling technique. You know, if a buyer, this relates to several of the points we've made, if a buyer is saying, look, it's all about price, but if their company website talks all about quality, maybe you can ask that buyer, well, how do you square off you're wanting to buy the cheapest solution with the fact that your company wants to offer the highest quality? How do you accomplish that? And see what they have to say. You don't want to challenge them exactly, but you want to at least understand where there's differences of point of view. Selling into different geographies obviously always has some components which have to be considered, whether it's travel, communications. You really want to, again, understand both the pros and cons. And the pros in terms of what's the benefit to your buyer, but the negatives or the things which are maybe not so good, what are the costs to your organization, and is that something you wish to do? And if the answer is yes, then of course understand how those things and pre-think those things which will make you, your organization, and your solution relevant to those prospective customers. Do we have any other questions at this point?
No, Jeff, that cleared out the queue. So before we close down, do you or Ken have any final words for this audience?
Well, one comment I would make is I've found over the last 3 to 4 years that customers want to have trust and confidence with who they're supplying, but they want it easy. So if you're selling from Europe into the U.S. or you're selling someone down the street, make it easy for them to understand what you do, make it easy for them to see how you do it, and make it easy for them to sign a check.
Perfect. And Jeff?
Great. Yep. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. I do encourage you to visit the website, Time to Thrive, under Microsoft Sales Specialist, review the materials from last month's presentation, and in conjunction with this stuff, we really encourage you to set the date for when you're going to review the material, actually turn it into action, and I am very confident that you'll find better success. And we're very happy to have helped, and we hope that you find this useful, usable, and informative. And with that, we look forward to hearing from you in the future. There is a continuing discussion going on the LinkedIn site, and Debbie, why don't you tell them about that, please?
Sure. Thank you so much, Jeff. So indeed, continue the discussion. Join us on our Sales Specialist group on LinkedIn after the webcast, where both Jeff and Ken will continue to answer your questions. There's a link here on the screen for the LinkedIn group. So that does conclude today's Partner Academy Live webcast. What you should see coming up next here, this is a link to a short survey. We appreciate you taking a moment to fill it out prior to logging out. You're going to need to enter your email address to access the survey questions. Once you're in there, our voting scale is on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. So if you've got some great information from Jeff and Ken today, or if you've got some recommendations for future events, we'd love to hear from you. Again, when you're done, be sure to click on the Submit button at the bottom to ensure that your feedback has been received. And with that, that does conclude today's Partner Academy Live webcast. All materials will be available internally on the Academy website and on the Partner Learning Center, both within 24 hours. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters, Jeff and Ken, and thank you, audience, for logging in and joining us today. You may now disconnect from the audio portion of this call.